Hello and welcome. It is the 27th of July 2017. My name is Derek and welcome. In this video, I'm going to go over a channel update. As I was talking earlier about, it's going to be tough to keep this channel maintained. And I think I got a plan B that should work. So I don't think that the videos are going to stop coming into the autumn of this year. I won't talk about plan B yet, but I'll talk about it in a while, or like a week in a while. As far as being a while, it's been a long time since I've talked about the code XBY, extra byte. So I'm going to talk about why, and I'm going to go over it as well. BTC, Bitcoin, baby, she is looking good. And yeah, we'll take a look at that. And some other ones not looking so good. And they got the exact same pattern. Ethereum, the classic version, Litecoin, and ZEC. I'm only going to show the Litecoin chart. But I'm putting those in because when I look at those four, they got the exact same pattern. So then, with that being stated, let's move on and start with the extra bytes XBY. And this is the chart spanning a few, many weeks or a few months since the spring. And I haven't been going over it for many weeks because, well, there's a couple reasons. With the first reason being that this is just doing the same old thing. It's very cheap to buy. It's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And it's obviously in a long-standing bear market. This is going to be either the greatest buying opportunity or it's a chart that could just go to many low points. Now, because of the fact it's just been doing this, and the reason I'm not covering it is because when you're playing codes like this, at least for myself, when you're going for gains that can get you 3, 4, 5, 10x gains, you really don't have stop losses. You play the whole thing through. And if you're going for gains like a 20%, 30% gain, you never play the whole thing through. So that's one reason why I'm not. Another reason too, and I wasn't too happy within the channel, which they had a video stating, at least this is what my memory serves me. I don't think it's incorrect, but they said they were talking about the idea of putting a contest together. Nothing set. We're not guaranteeing anything, but it's just something we want to do. And okay, that sounds good. And of course, they're not guaranteeing anything. That's good they say that. And then some time goes by, they put a video out and state, yep, we got 3 winners, which I'm like, okay, I don't remember you announcing the contest or how to participate. And then they announced that, okay, this is what you do. You go to this web page and you put your email address in. And I even made, I think the last video I did, I even stated, oh, here's the video link to it. And that's the contest. And well, there's been nothing back yet. So they didn't announce any winners, at least not on the YouTube channel. So things like that really don't impress me much. I know that's Shania Twain's song, but yeah, it makes it difficult to promote something of that nature. But with that stated, I'm here to make money with these things. I do have an amazing betting strategy that I use within this. I unfortunately can't share it yet or any time in the near term, as doing so would be like playing a big poker tournament face up, as it would make it difficult for the strategy to work for me. It's one that makes, on average, $60, $70, $80 a day. And because of that, as long as this keeps moving, I'm going to keep making that easy, like, again, $60, $70, and play it through. And as far as this chart is concerned, because it keeps going lower, I have several lower highs, and it's going to work out that I'm going to have to calculate this key Fibonacci to this point. It's already working out that the first key area is going to be somewhere around here. Between, well, definitely 800 is huge, but 700. 700 to 800 will be a key short-term next level. But in the meantime, I can't tell you how long it's going to take before this thing goes up. If it's going to be one of those failure kind of deals, it's likely that it's going to have some up moves before it goes to nothing, if it does that. Because I look at worst case and best case scenario. Best case scenario, this thing breaks resistance and then some, goes on bigger exchanges, and it's good gains. Worst case scenario, it goes to nothing. So then, if that is the case, how many times are we going to have some moves before? Is it going to go up to here and then start going back lower again? Many times that's going to happen along the way. Or even, is it going to go further down to, say, 200, then make a rally up to 6, and then fall back lower? Different possibilities on the situation of worst case scenario. So then, when this is all said and done, I will explain how I'm able to protect myself very well playing a code that just keeps on going down, and how I can profit on it, protect myself big, because selling here worked out really, really well for the amount that I did. And a second chance to sell worked out again, but I did, not everybody else did, but that's just what I look to do as a trader. Sell here, buy back here. Easy to do. Anyway, that's not part of the $70 a day strategy. However, I'm either going to have this go down to nothing and have very small gains along the way overall. And I could have had bigger, but I'll sell it for smaller. Or this thing's going to go way up and I'm going to do very, very well. So I'll explain that hopefully before the end of the year. But until then, let's move on to the Bitcoin chart. We'll start off with the daily, and oh baby, she's looking good. She really, really, really is, after the failed move, fast move that I talked about. Failed breakdown, fast move to previous high, back down to correctionary phase, to a spot from where it came from, and it's lifting higher. It's escaping the newly rising 18 average band. This is how you want to play it by the book. The only thing is maybe you were hoping, and you were hoping for a little bit of a deeper pullback, and I guess this is the case for the 18 average of lows. That's one place where if you're looking to be a buyer, when this is in an uptrend, this usually works out pretty good. Of course, this one didn't work out as well. The previous two did. Anyway, leaving the band as we are seeing this previous high, cup and handle formation, if you want to call it, but when you do the pattern of making a big new all-time high, and after many other previous all-time highs, you have a good correction, which it did. You go back to pre-high, as I call it, or previous high. I expect that to be an area where you sell, which it worked out. But when you make the correction like the book is supposed to, well, then the rest of the way this book is supposed to play out is continuation to previous high, where it should have smaller corrections, thus higher lows. One example would be going up to, say, 28 to 29, then pulling back to around 27 or 26 change instead. Or it just settles in this area and does this thing, but instead of pulling down after doing a nice sideways wedge, it would go higher. Or maybe it's just not going to resist that area and it's just going to go straight higher. That's usually how the book plays out within this format in a very good parabolic bull market. Switch time frames now. Let's go to the 4-hour. And when we look at this, we had this situation here where it was playing within the band for almost a dozen periods or around such, and only one leg lower, resisting the 18 average of lows several times. Now we can see a collection of 5 periods going sideways up until current one of staying in the flattening band. and it has broke it significantly. Where did it break it to? That previous support level. Oh, are you surprised? I'm not. I now see this here as an area of big resistance in at around 26. What does that mean? Yeah, if you follow the channel, you know exactly what I'm going to say now. That is where I expect support to be if, of course, there's going to be any short-term retracements any deeper. When I'm looking for plays by the book and I'm not in and I'm not long, but I want to be, what I hope for when I see this is for about 4 periods or so, where it either goes sideways, up a bit down, and try to find an entry position that isn't so risky. But if I'm very confident in something and I'm just looking at this now, oh boy, this is a situation or a time where buying is something that I think is not a bad idea, or something I think is a pretty good idea. And when we signal this to the hourly time frame, this is a time frame I normally don't show too often. It's usually between the daily and the 4-hour that I show within Bitcoin. But last night, I brought up the 1-hour chart as a very important time frame. I continued it through this morning, and it has continued to show such. And this tells you where your buy signal is. A couple of different places, a few different places. Where were the good spots to buy? Well, as I talk about, step 1, flatten the band. Step 2, establish resistance. Was this high enough? If this is high enough in here, then the break of the band at about 25.50, right around this point here, is where you go long. But if this point is high enough, you still have a move back, and then you'd be buying at around 25.90 at a break of this point. Furthermore, if you're looking for different strategies to get good buy points on when markets are starting to revert, hitting these 18 average of lows, there's another good buy spot. And then if you're looking again when it's breaking a key point, breaking this resistance, leaving the 18 average band, another good buy point. But the market has shown that it was in a bullish behavior. Basically at around here is where I labeled it, a bull market. And buying at that point, we'll say right at this top, the exact top in here. Oh, you had to endure a little bit of losses. So be it. That's what happens when you do this strategy, because usually these corrections are just that, a correction. And so you're losing. Well, now you're winning on your trade thus far. So just want to go over different strategies. Let's move over to Litecoin. And the exact same pattern is in place for the Ethereums and ZEC and probably a bunch of others, where we see it in a declining 18 average after a correctionary mode, and it's leaving the average now. Definitely a sign that's bearish. I sold a little bit of ETC. I sold a bit of LTC today because of its bearish pattern. Where do you do that? Well, right now I think is a situation where I'm definitely more bearish than bullish, and thinking that it can definitely at least maybe come down, in this case, to the 12 number. But I'm usually looking for key areas. It's something usually easy to eyeball see when you're looking at them. But other times is when it's barely breaking the support level. And this is, to me, I find it a little easier to, I don't sell everything, just sell a little bit. I'll sell this now and I'll put buy orders in. Well, in this case, I'm putting buy orders in Litecoin at the 12 number. And again, those other ones have the same pattern, so I'm not going to bring it, I'm not going to put that through. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a magnificent day. Bye-bye.